Welcome to a new episode of Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work to get more content out, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as the most recent, Bringing Out the New You to Play in the New World, along with our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and is also in the description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As more of us come together who are creating shifts in themselves, the more effective it will be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
So welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. This is the series that assists you to advance your consciousness, to really access the part of you that you have very fundamentally right in your core essence. And this is your opportunity to also stimulate not only what you're knowing, but to utilize more of yourself and to bring more of yourself into this reality so that you're stepping in more of a creator state, which we've always been, but we've always believed that the creation was outside of us and we had no say in the matter, but we're stepping in and going into the driver's seat. So this is episode 24, and it's actually a question. What stops us from making changes? This is a huge one because all of us want to go through different changes, different experiences, and there are different types of changes that we will look at and what they actually represent and mean. There are changes because of the fact that we can't tolerate what we're experiencing, and there's changes because we're ready for something different. And again, there's no frustration about it, but it's because you actually are a next level of self is coming forth, and you're stepping also more into your role of what you have chosen to engage and play with moving forward. So before we get started, I want to talk about the upcoming workshop. We've just posted it. You will find it in the comment section and also in the description. So we have a workshop coming up on the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th of June. So it's just under 2 weeks away. The workshop is called Deprogramming, Clearing, and Empowerment. This workshop is about assisting you going through a clearing process, clearing aspects of yourself, but also first we start with the deprogramming, because we're all programmed. We've all adopted different ways of life and so forth. So the workshop is a hands-on workshop. It will involve you going through the different processes. As I walk you through the processes, we're doing it together. And as we go through these processes, we're going to actually end up with tools that we can use as we go along, because even the workshop will not give us the opportunity to address everything, but we will play with certain key ones for us that are hot. So we're basically going to be doing some deprogramming, a deeper understanding of some of the processes, doing some clearing, self-clearing, and then the empowerment part, where you're actually re-empowering yourself even further to become that grander aspect of yourself. So the workshop itself is a 2-day and a half, sort of. We're looking at on the 13th, which is a Saturday. It will go from 11 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. So that's 6 hours. Of course, we'll have a couple of breaks and also a lunch period. No, I think it is one lunch period and one break. And it will be interactive, so you will be involved in feedback and so forth, and also kind of hands-on as we walk through it. So the other part of it that we're talking about too is that the workshop will be on the Saturday, then the second part of it will be on the Sunday, also from 11 to 5 p.m. And again, we'll be doing processes, hands-on, you'll be writing, doing all types of things that you will assist you to go through it. And the third day, which is on the Monday, which will be only about a 2 to 3 hour part, where we'll address any questions, and if we have to expand any clarification that somebody may have that they would require for themselves to how could I say it, to get more clarity on certain things that we've covered, or if you ran into some obstacles or something of that nature that you require some assistance. So that will be that. So it's a 2.5 day workshop. And the workshop again itself, it's coming up not this weekend, the following weekend. I do strongly suggest for yourself to look into it and to really consider it, because it's very powerful. So you can join us live stream. If you do join us live stream, you will also get video and audio recordings of the whole workshop completely. Of course, I will edit it. And at the same time, what I will also be doing is that we'll make available the unedited version of it right after it's done. So usually an hour or two later, it will be available. We'll send you the links and you can get on and watch the replays. So if you had to miss anything in between, you will be able to see it. Then, of course, within the week, we will also send out the edited version of it. If you cannot join us, you can order just the video and audio recordings. I do recommend that you have that as a way to assist you through, especially with everything that we're going through right now, and with all the changes we're experiencing, not only personally, but globally, and also to really address and understand the energies coming along. Now, we've made the workshop as inexpensive as possible. The price that you're going to see, which is 147 Canadian, which again, if you're using it towards American, that's like barely over $100 for a 2.5 day workshop. Now, originally we were going to be much higher than that because of everything else that's playing out. Some people have kind of indicated, there may be a little bit short of cash or whatever else. So we made it available for a reduced price. Eventually, the audio and video recordings will actually sell for the amount that the live stream with the audio and video recordings will be available. If you want to just get just the video and audio recording, that'll be available at $97. Canadian again, so that would be 70 something or less, or somewhere around there when we're looking at an American. So choose to participate. I will do a couple of videos to talk a little bit about it, to go a little bit more into details. But if you use the link, the full description's there. It talks about it. It also gives you all the points that we'll be covering, so you'll have something to navigate with. Great. So let's move on to why we actually came together today. So when we're looking at what stops us from making changes, that's a big one. And this is the reason we got into this topic at this time, is because there's so many people that feel like they're really pushed. They're really feeling that urgency, that really drive within themselves to make changes, to shift their reality, to actually let go of certain parts of their experience because it does not resonate with them anymore, or the fact that it's holding an old version of them stuck in that reality. And this is the challenge we all have, is because we get so accustomed, so comfortable in our old patterns and ways of life, and what we've invested so much time in as a reality, that making changes, as alluring as it is, as exciting as it is, as much as we feel moving towards that, we have the tendency to kind of be in a reflective, responsive, reactive state of feeling a sense of discomfort, or going into a state where, in some cases, even panic about changing and letting go any part of our old version of ourselves. Now you realize that this is not only personal, because it starts all of us personally, but it also extends globally. And all of us are feeling very much not only to push within ourselves the change, but also in the game of life, what we have adopted as a way of life. And looking at all the different systems and structures and protocols and patterns of life and any form of education and any other part of adopted ideas, and that extends from all different forms of ourselves in this playground, plus all the engagements and everything else that we have taken on as we play with one another. So when the whole idea, the knowing, that part of us that says it's time to change, time to shift, we do have a part of us that goes into panic, goes into resistance. That part of us we will look at, because that part of us can be part of an impediment and a slowing down, and also a lot of times paralyzing us to stay stuck or to stay at that status quo. And a lot of times if we have a lot of connections with people and certain groups and so forth, that also means that some of these changes may not be looked at the same way that you may be looked at. And then that part of us will kick in to kind of stop us from moving forward. However, as we are realizing deep inside that you came here. You came here to experience these changes. You came here to be part of this experience. You came here to really be present and active right now. And what we're talking about right now is at this stage of our journey. Now, I know we went through different stages of our journey, and each one was instrumental. Each one of us have been in some way instrumental in it and instrumental for us in each of these stages. And we're on stage 3. And this is the most exciting stage. As you could see, the energies of what we've been experiencing the last several months, especially the first 5 months of 2020, you could see how much of it has been really ramping up. And there's people that are experiencing excitements, and other people are a little bit afraid. But then the question comes in, what is afraid and what's excited? Well, the excitement is, first of all, there's a part of you that loves new, loves to express more powerfully, loves to see a different reality. When it comes to your soul, of course, it would love to expand itself more. It would love to represent itself more. It would love to express itself more of everything that it has available as an expression on this playground. When it comes to your human entity, it says, okay, we've played this game for the last 10,000 years. We're really ready now to amplify and really get into part of bringing the grandest aspect of what we call humanity, and also the grandest aspect of what we have taken on as a human consciousness. Because if you're looking at even at the human entity, it has the history of even the first 5,000 years of its presence in that what we called organic 3D and the organic matrix, and being in a state of our highest state as we were still progressing. So that part of us is excited too. And then when it comes to the body of course is excited. The body is an extension of Gaia, and Gaia is already a 5th dimensional consciousness. Our body's already a 5th dimensional consciousness and just going through the structural change. Your human entity is gearing up to that. Your soul, of course, is 5th and beyond, depending on which part of it wants to accentuate. And then we have the part that is the mind, that is programmed and conditioned and so forth, that is still in that inverted matrix, inverted 3D and so forth. And of course we do have a software that does a marvelous job to keep us there. All right. So now that I've painted the stage or created the stage or the foundation of this, let's take a look at the first thing. Who or what can stop us is the first question we want to ask ourselves. So let's ask ourselves the question, who and what can stop us from shifting our life, from shifting every aspect of the human experience personally and globally? And we ask ourselves, who and what can stop us? Can somebody else stop us? Can somebody else limit us? And if so, who made the choice to provide them with the opportunity to stop us? Opportunity to restrict us. The opportunity to say we still have to play there. The opportunity to or reduce that aspect of ourselves. And when we say what can stop us? Is there something around us that can stop us? Well, we could say, yes, our reality. But where's this reality and who is this other aspect of yourself that can stop us? They are not only a reflection of you, an expression of you, but they're also a version of you that is the playmate that's playing with you. Now, in most cases, if not all, we are instructing them fully and completely how to play the role. And if you wanted to experience that restriction and those limits and even the idea that in some way, somehow, that you can't let go of that box or let go of that world, of that reality, then they're playing their role. But it's still up to you to say, do I choose that? Do I give power to that? Do I support that? Do I allow that to navigate? Because this is the interesting part. Each and every time we allow, and we have to allow or else we can't do it, when we allow someone else to govern our choices, govern our reality, to either have the choice or to be able to be empowered enough to create the illusion of imprisonment or illusion of restrictions or an illusion of limitations, you're actually doing that. You're providing them the power to do so. And what does that power mean? That means that I will give you the opportunity to go into my driver's seat, even if it's temporarily, and you're going to drive my vessel or my vehicle in my life. So you have the two choices. It's either you're driving or you allow somebody else, another version of you, to drive. But the only reason they would step into the driver's seat is because you're allowing them to go there. And it doesn't matter if you're going to become the passenger and then complain about it. It's really you that says, you know something? I'm going to drive from this moment. So when we ask the question, again, who and what can stop us? It always comes back to your brother-in-law, your uncle, your whatever. Just kidding. The point, it comes back to us, even globally. When we're looking at it globally, what restricts us to redesign the human experience, redesign every single system that we have in place? Remember, this reality is part of our co-creation, and it becomes part of us to activate any part of it and to be instrumental in those changes. So, sure, if we fully agree, jump in, buy into the idea that the system dictates your reality, your world, then the collective is going to keep supporting that, because you're feeling that in one way or another you don't have access, but you're also giving and supporting the power of the fact that the systems and everything else has power over you. Now, I know this has been breaking down. I know that many of us have come to more and more of that realization and are stepping forward to be outside of that realm of play, and really to get to the point where, you know, we are collectively have agreed to shift it. Even the ones that are polarized, even the ones that are in the sleep state, even the ones that are considered the extras, even the ones that are so far behind and are just starting their journey. But most of us, you know, have been on the journey for a while. Some of us have only been on the journey for a short while, but at the same time made huge advancements in a short period of time. And it's just the beginning. And we're moving forward in a big way. So it comes back to us to really realize that we are the only ones that can stop ourselves. Because we choose We have that choice. I know at times it doesn't feel that way. I know the illusion of the mind at that point in time, what we call the ego mind, will say, no, you have no say. You have no power. You are governed by your family, your reality, your work environment, your collective, and your programs, your story, your history. That's a big one. That controls you. And it doesn't matter, what you went through, that is still part of you. You're going to drag it along, and that's the illusionary part of it. And this is why, I've talked about it in the other episodes, the whole idea of eliminating all preset timelines so that we were in that flexible timeline. And that timeline could be plugged and unplugged, any part of it. These are openings that we have created together to provide ourselves that opportunity to flow and to be more expansive about it so that we are not blocked or stuck or, dealing with limited choice points of how we experience life and how we redesign, rebuild, or reshape our life. That strong pull that we have, that push within ourselves, that is really that burning energy within ourselves, is really because you're saying, I want to use my personal timeline and the collective timeline in the most effective way because that's why I'm here. I came here to play. I came here to play in that human experience. I came here to evolve. I came here to become more experientially rich. But at the same time, I want to be part of the designer, part of the creator of this new world. And this is why you're in it. This is why you're here. And this is why you're choosing to be part of even this series. And you've already made decisions already along the way. So it goes right back to the start of the question. Who and what can stop us? No one. Hear this again. Who and what can stop us? No one. Only us. We're the only ones that can stop us. We're the only ones that can give power to somebody else to play the role that can look like it stopped us. We're the only ones that can choose between a limited experience and an open experience or an expansive experience. We're the one that has the capacity to really design, reshape any facets of our life. So it's not outside of us. So that's the first thing I wanted to cover. That we're the only ones that can stop us. Because the question is there something outside of ourselves that can stop us? Like we talked about. We can look at the environment. We can look at the systems. You can look at even the chaos that's playing out. But that is just a reflectional aspect of it. There are many multiple layers of that reality playing out that you can put your energy in. There's that world. Look, we have the two playgrounds, two platforms. We have the organic 3D and the organic 5D. Okay? Within both of them, we have let's backtrack here. We have the organic 3D and the organic 5D. Both of them have the organic matrix in both of them. Okay? Those are the two playgrounds we're playing in. And within those playgrounds, we have still the capacity, to a degree, not projected outside of us, but only within ourselves, reinforced within ourselves, what we call the 2D in an inverted 3D, where everything's backwards, within the inverted matrix where everything is backwards. None of it is projected, none of it is still there, except it still lies within us. So even with that in place, all we're using is the opportunity, even the extras that are playing the role, which is about 63% that are playing those roles for us. And like I said, in those two worlds, we have versions of each other in both of them. In the organic 3D and organic 5D. One is your home template or the home base, but you move from one to the other. Regardless, it's played perfectly for you because you're part of the designer. So even with that, just to give you an idea, we have multiple layers of our world. And you probably have noticed it, that depending on the state that you're in, so if you're in an optimistic, lighter, playful state, the world looks very different. It's not only the interpretation, but even the people that come in, what you're seeing, the layers that you're seeing, the movie screens that you're seeing becomes different. So you're going down the street, I'm just giving you an example, and if you're in a lower state, you're going to see more of the accentuation and of the screen of things that are very negative and polarized. But if you're in a great space, and just to backtrack a little bit, in that space, you're going to meet people that are going to reflect that, maybe even communicate you with that way. But if you're walking down the street, feeling in that empowered, light, and playful state, and you're in your higher state, then the movie is going to be different. You're going to see things differently. You're going to feel things differently because you're now tuning into the energy that matches that. And the people that you will meet will be that version that most reflects you. So you see how you can shape it. So there are multiple movies along the way of whatever's being projected, because our playground is a virtual reality, a very elaborate virtual reality. We're a virtual reality ourselves. We are like wearing those goggles sort of thing from a higher perspective point of view and experiencing it. But there's so much more that can be seen and plugged in and activated different screens while we're experiencing. And you've probably seen it. I mean, if you're feeling light and so forth, you can go for your drive, you can go for your walk, you can do whatever, and you're not going to meet any of the chaos. You're not. You may still see some polarity stuff playing out, but you're not even affected by it, but you actually see it. There's no direct interaction, and you see it as just the landscape sort of part of the movie. So it comes back right to the point of saying, well, you know something? I am really choosing how I experience. And that's the beauty of the timeline too. Not only can you plug in and unplug certain things, your energy, your frequency, your state, how you're feeling emotionally and otherwise actually helps design what each step of the way, moment by moment. But the thing here is we got to keep in mind, it's only moment by moment. So things can shift very quickly. So if you're looking at this right now, to understand it more deeply, the next minute, if you come to a realization, oh, I'm choosing not to give power to this, and you just basically come to a realization, because you've seen it, where all of a sudden a thought comes into your mind, or a feeling of accentuation, of excitement, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden the screen changes. It's almost transitional, where it just becomes, and now everything else has just taken another form. And I've done workshops some years ago with that, where people were going through certain turmoils in certain states personally in their life, and then walking through certain experiences in reality, or what we call down the street or down a hallway or whatever, wherever they're going, depending on their state, because we made two adjustments. One, we lowered their state, brought in fear and so forth. And then everything that they met felt very impactful, very fear-based, but also conflictive and very polarized. Where when we did an exercise where we raised everybody's frequency by going into their highest state, going down the same street, the same experience, all of a sudden, they didn't feel any of the polarized energies. They didn't feel any of the negative, but they also met and saw people very differently. Even the ones that were frowning smiled the second time around, if they were still there, or others coming through. So it's very powerful. I'm sharing this because we've done these experiences before with groups, and to even prove it to people that thought, is that really possible? But the thing is, I'm saying this, but I'm just triggering your memory because you already know this, because you've already experienced this yourself, and maybe not have put, a tag on it and saying, okay, I got to remember this experience. It's there, and that knowing is there, but it's just coming to the surface, and that's what really is playing out. So the other part of the question, which we already started to cover, which can anybody really stop you? Oh, my partner can. My boss can. My family can. My children can, and so forth. Is that really true? Is that really true for you? It can be. It can be if that's the experience, and if that's the belief, and if that's what we're going to support. Well, you know, I can't because I can't speak out. I can't because then I will disappoint them. And I'm going to cover a little bit more of that as we go along. But at the same time, what you're noticing is what you have given yourself to, that power. So I'm going to give it to my kids, I'm going to give it to my parents, I'm going to give it to my partner, I'm going to give it to my boss, I'm going to give it to my friends, I'm going to give it to whoever, siblings and whatever. And which is a great experience, and we've all gone through it, and all of us have had, you know, years of experiences in that case, but the choice is yours. Do I still support it or not? So really, yes and no. Can someone, well, if we call it in, if we allow them, and whatever else. And when I say allow, it's not like they're coming to you to kind of implement some idea. You can have a conversation with a sibling and they can say, well, I'm concerned, I have these fears, I have these concerns, and we should do this and we should do that. They're just reflecting to you that in some way that you have the opportunity to say, you know, that is your dance, that is your part, and thank you for playing it. However, I'm choosing not to support it. I see my world my way. Not only do I see my world, but everything that's folding my way. And if I give power to that, seeing that experience, that unfoldment in that way, you're now projecting an upgrade in that experience. And the individual that you're involved with that is playing that, they will see that version. However, that version will not match over a period of time because the fact that you at a higher state is already seeing someone, something being in a higher state rather than reflective of that older state. So, you know, sometimes people say, well, I choose to see the very best. Well, see what you imagine within that individual, that situation, that circumstance, and then already it starts to shape and change things. And it also affects anybody else that's involved. Maybe not to the same degree, but it actually weakens and limits the interactional energies because it can't be directed towards you, because in that essence, it's not a requirement for you to really. So it's really about my choice. Do I support somebody else's reality, somebody else's version of that reality, someone else's game? Or do I project and experience what I feel within myself and how I see it? And you have to understand, we still allow whatever needs to play out, but it's really not ours to give power to the same degree. And this is the beauty of it. You have the choice. And this is the choice point you have. So let's carry on. So let's take a look at some of the other reasons we don't make change. First of all, one that comes up is doubt. We doubt that if we make the change, that it's going to be better. We doubt that in fact, that the change is necessary, beneficial, supportive. We doubt that the fact that in some way we actually were co-created and we're going to have the freedom to shape that change, to shape when we are stepping into that change each moment. This is the ego's program, to create doubt. Doubt in yourself, doubt in the fact that you may make the correct choice, because that's a huge one. And if you listen to any of the episodes and even some of the workshops, there is no correct choice. You make the choice that best matches you. But as you're advancing and moving forward, those choices will be more in alignment at the lowest state of who you are. It's not outside of you. This is the good thing about it. This is the part that we've really co-created. So the whole thing about doubt, that it's going to be okay, what does that mean? Okay. Everything is okay. Is it going to be something I'm going to be pleased about? Maybe that's another way to look at it. Is it going to be another way that I'm going to create a reality that may be less serving? It's not possible. You actually create what serves you. Now, with that statement comes in, well, I didn't really enjoy that part, but who's saying that? Is it the ego, or from a higher perspective saying, well, we need to do this so we can actually change these programs. We can step out of that old modality, that older state that we've played with. This is the thing. We only create things that serve us, that facilitates us, that really expands us to become a grander aspect of ourselves. So one of the things comes in was doubt. We doubt. Ego creates that. Just know, if you follow, if you choose to follow, because no matter what you follow, you either follow the ego or you follow all other aspects of yourself. Look at how numbered you are. But one's got a very powerful case. So you got ego. It's going to tell you one thing. And it likes to use history. Here you have your soul. You have your human entity. Oops. There's a T in there. Human entity, and you have your body. You have the planet. So each part of this is saying change is what we're moving forward. And the ego comes along and says, oh, no, 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 no. You know, ego? No, we can't change. That's dangerous. And it likes to project the future. Big time. Future. Skewed version of future. Look at how many of us, when you look at the future, is always painting fear, possible loss, negativity, things falling apart, or some carrot of some sort of saying, wow, when we get there, whatever it is. Every part of you is saying right now, this is what we need to do. Change is what we're here for. And when I say change, let's understand it a little further. It's really just creating more and more alignments at each stage as we are advancing ourselves. But that's the advancement of the collective, that's the advancement of Gaia, that's the advancement of our body, our human entity, our soul, and the advancement of our full experience. So really, it's about staying in alignment and always bringing forward an alignment as you're advancing, as every part around you is advancing. So that's what really change is about. It's not just the sake of, I get rid of this and I bring something else in. You're going to get rid of something that does not fit anymore, and does not resonate anymore, that does not support you anymore, that is an older energy, that is not where you're at anymore. And you're going to change, shift, and step into something that is more aligned, something that is where you're at, where you want to create. So you're going from one playground, one part of your timeline, moving forward, plugging in all that matches you. This is the whole point. Change is about keeping yourself updated, keeping yourself matching along the way to your energy, your consciousness, your state of being. That's what change is about. It's not just for the sake of change. It's about keeping yourself on track with the grander aspect of you. Right now, everything that's playing out energetically and otherwise is elevating you, is upgrading you, is experiencing, enriching you to be able. And this is why all of this other stuff that will not fit anymore, because now you're saying, I'm growing and expanding, I'm trying to go back into those boxes. You've outgrown it. So it's really following through and creating, stepping into the state that matches you. And you're going to outgrow the next thing anyways. This is the thing. It's about flow. It's about movement. It's not about staying stagnant in any way, shape, or form. This is not for you to stay stagnant. The source essence that you are is a total reflection of expansion, growth, further enlightenment, becoming enriched in its capacities and its capabilities and its creativity and its imagination. It's about constantly expanding and creating higher and higher realms of self, or higher and higher aspects of its expression, of its existence. All these playgrounds, that's what it's for. And this is every one of us as this beautiful signature that comes here to play. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So what is the ego going to do? Yeah, it's going to project the future. Absolutely. A dismal one at times, with lots of fear. It also likes to, so you're basically talking about doubt. The next good one that it loves to use is fear. Fear. And then loss. Fear. How do they say it? False evidence appearing real. What is fear? It's a projection. A projection with a label. A projection with a polarity. And a projection that it has to be something that is negative, something that is going to harm you, something that will bring you into a state that does not match you, in fact that it's going to supersede you, that in fact that in some way can harm you, or anything of that nature. This is the thing. The ego loves this fear, and everything that's reflected in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D and 2D, is fear-based. Look at everything that's happening right now, even with what we've just gone through and still cleaning us all through, and we'll probably have another visit of it. What is it projecting? Fear. Fear of loss. Fear of chaos, fear of death, fear of harm, fear that we are going to be imprisoned in our world, a fear that we won't have freedom, fear that something could happen to us. And that's what it does. So ego uses that to squash everything that says here, there's nothing to fear. We're here to play. We're here to enjoy. We're here to expand. We are here to become the grandest aspect of ourselves. And we have all the tools to do so. We have all the capacities to do so. And we're upgrading each moment, each second, each breath. We're expanding. And this one say, no, contract, make small. We dare leave that box, you know, that box that the ego's created? This is the ego box. What's the box made of? Confines, limitation. Oh, we got to stay in our little bubble. We got to stay in this container. We do not venture out of that because, first of all, you can fail. You can really screw up. And you can really mess up your life if you step outside of this. Don't you dare go outside of this box. The other part, it says, it's dangerous out there. And this is why one of the things that we have a challenge with is the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. You go out of there, I cannot protect you. I cannot secure you. I cannot guide you because my control is in that box. And if I keep you in the box, I'll keep you safe. Which is an illusion. It's a story. Well, fear, or what we call safe and unsafe, is still that illusion that the ego will project. As we know who we are, that doesn't even come in there. And if you go out of this, you will lose. This is one of the things. Lose. Lose what? Lose your life? Lose your comfort, lose your opportunity, lose your relationship. What else can we lose? We lose your money, we lose security, we lose, the known, we lose people, all of these things. And it likes to project that. You cannot lose anything. All you can do is you become more of you. You go into the state that you feel guided to do so, and whoever participates will participate. Who doesn't, doesn't. Imagine that I have all these little individuals here. These are little role players in our lives. We got a whole bunch of them. And I'm not going to leave the box because if I do, I'm going to lose them. I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to lose my friends. I'm going to lose my partner. I'm going to lose my kids. I'm going to lose whatever, friendships and whatever else. That's what the ego will say. You're going to lose. And then what? Where are you going to go from there? Who wants to be with you? And how do you know the next friends are going to be any good? How do you know that the new acquaintance and connections and partnerships or whatever else is going to be any good? You got it good right now. Maybe miserable, but you're good because you're in the box and I protect you. Doesn't matter if you're miserable. Doesn't matter any of that. Doesn't matter if you're in dissatisfaction. But here's the best part. You step out of here, out of the box, and now you have the opportunity for new connections, new reality, new experience. And these individuals have the freedom to join you if they choose. If they choose. But you're not going to stay in their ball game or their confines. You're going to step out of the confines. You're going to open the door. You'll leave the door open. Say, okay, I'm out. But the door's open. You can join me if you want to. And if you don't, it's okay. I love you anyways. You can have whatever experience you choose. Stay wherever you want to be. You're good. I'm good. We're all good. Let's go play. And this is the thing. So we have to look at the whole idea of what the ego projection, doubt, fear, loss. And the choice you have, do I go with this and stay within this and project a dismal or fearful or restrictive future? Or do I just follow every other part of me that is indicating fully and completely to move forward in a huge way? So let's remove this planet part. Let's call it Gaia. The planet Gaia is a sentient being. It's another aspect of you. It has consciousness, it has energy and so forth, and that is supporting you. Imagine this. Gaia saying, hey, stay in your stuck state. Stay in the destructive state that we've been playing in the polarized world. Yes, continue to pollute. Continue to create an environment that's non-supportive. Continue to do all of this. Is Gaia going to say that? No. Is the body going to say, hey, listen, let's continue to play this destructive role within ourselves. Let's limit ourselves. Let's, put a lot of power, energy, emotions, fear around all of this survival idea or limitation idea or the fact that we can die at any point in time. Is it going to say that? Is your body going to actually say that? Have the conversation. Ask your body, really, is that what the focus is? Or is the focus is, how can we play? How can we experience? How can we step into that other reality? Is your human entity say, hey, last 10,000 years, we really, really had a tough time. And I think we have a security there. So we will have to stay in that box. We're going to have to stay in there because, we're not going to do well without it. Or is your human entity saying, hey, let's upgrade because the first 5,000 years was amazing. The next 10,000 years was amazing too, but in a polarized way, in a limited world. And we are enriched experientially in that polarization. But now what are we going to do? Are we going to move forward? Are we going to expand? Are we going to utilize the highest aspect? The combination is what it is. Soul Oh, no, 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 no. You know something? We came here to play a limited world. We came here to play in a polarized world. Oh, I like this park. I love this roller coaster. I love this amusement park. We're not going anywhere. We're going to maximize it and so forth. Yeah, it may have come in that way and saying, okay, let's go experience it. Let's get enriched by it. Yes, let's learn from it. Yes, let's see how it actually functions. Let's get the nitty gritty of it. And then what are we going to do with it? We're going to transform it. We're going to step up. And that's why you're here now. Because if you're not here to play a particular role, you're going to leave. Either you've left already, or you're going to leave. Or you're going to open up whatever. So if you look at it, all of this is saying movement, expansion, growth, and so forth. And this is saying, no, 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 no. Play small, stay still. That's go in there. And that's how it is. So that's the choice that you have. The next part. Disappointing others. Is that stopping you in any way? It does for a lot of people. I've been included myself. Yeah, of course, I've played with the doubt, the fear, the loss, and so forth in different stages of my life, and I can't say I'm 100% out of it, but at time to time it comes in. You know, I have to put myself back in check and move forward. But this disappointing others, that's a huge one. If I change, if I am no longer a reflection of my friends, my family, my partners, my co-workers, my whatever relationship, friendship, and otherwise, if I don't reflect them, I will disappoint them. I will break their heart. I will make them feel bad, or I'm going to feel bad. Disappointing others. Huge. Huge. Let me ask you the question. How many of us have been able to advance, grow, and become a grander aspect of yourself while we were trying to make sure that we appeased everybody? And that's a tall order, because to appease everybody, you have to be the chameleon. You have to have many, multiple facets of yourself. And I talked about it even just recently in one of the episodes. So the thing is, if you're going to not disappoint anybody in your family, you now have to create a facade, a way of life, and see and connect with them at their state of observation, their state of expression, their thought forms, their whatever power they give into cultures, realities, and genders, you name it, traditions, you name it. So now you go to your family, you have to become one of them, or else you're going to disappoint them. You got to talk the talk. You got to walk their talk. You got to appease them in any which way, so you cannot express yourself. You can only express within the confines. Because what is that? You go to the family and you're in this box. Yeah, we're already in all of this box, but you're now in a sub-box. So that's your family sub-box. If you're with your partner or with a partner at that point in time and you're not being yourself and you're stepping into there, you now go into another box. You're moving from this box to that box. Now you have to replicate, express, be whatever they are, because or else you will disappoint them. If you step out of it, you'll disappoint them. You can disappoint your kids because they have their demands. Your siblings have demands. Your boss, your co-workers, your friends. Each one represents a box. If you're choosing not to disappoint anybody, and I have a twist to that later. So you're looking at it. Do I live in these boxes? Because the point is, you cannot please everybody and be yourself at the same time. However, if you can be yourself, you're going to see other versions of these people and you will actually become a change agent to all of that. You're going to be so instrumental to open up some of these boxes. But you're not doing it because of that. You're just being yourself. You're no longer going to go see your family and be what your family expects of you. You're going to be you. The reflection of you, the consciousness of you, the awareness of you. You will speak at those terms. You will connect to those terms. You carry the frequency of those terms. Every part of it. This is the good. So you go no matter where you go. If you're with your coworkers or your friends, your family, your immediate family, your partners, your extended families, and so forth. You're always going to be you. And if you're going to rock the boat, you rock the boat. The only reason you're rocking the boat is because you need to rock the boat. But you don't do it on purpose. You're just being yourself. And if it rocks the boat, it rocks the boat. The only reason you are where you are and you're being yourself is because they need somebody to shake things up or to open their eyes or to... But you're not doing it on purpose. You're just being you. And you're already creating it. And if it doesn't match and they want to stay in that box and you're rattling the box or you're opening the box or taking down the barriers just because of you, then they can stay there. You move on. New connections. But you know, the thing is, all the connections will be outside of the box. This is the thing. This is what. So if you're going to use that, saying, I'm being stopped making changes because I don't want to disappoint anybody. Even this idea that I break somebody's heart. Oh, you know, I can't do this. My parents have been there for me and whatever else. Did you ever ask yourself, does your parents actually want to see your true essence of you that you came here to be? Because remember, when you made the agreement to come into their life, you didn't come in to play whatever they expected of you. You came in to play you, to be you, to bring your energy, your consciousness, your awareness, your creativity, your imagination, your skill set, your experience. And if you're not moving forward through that, then you're only playing part of the role, because the agreement was, yes, I'm going to abide and play this role to get the example, and they're playing it for you. But at the same time, aren't they rooting for you unconsciously from a superconscious state? Yes, go be you. Yes, their ego is saying, no, 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 you're one of us, you belong to us, you need to be this, you need to be that, or whatever. Disappointing others. Good one. Go ahead.
This question is from when you were talking about Gaia.
Too late.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Linda's wondering if there's a difference in Gaia and Terra Nova. The White Knight, Kent, refers to Terra Nova. So is there a difference between the two? It's just a
Gaia is a
term.
consciousness. Terra Nova is the name that they give to the planet itself, and what it's still part of the same consciousness and so forth. So it's just a different name. I use Gaia because a lot of people use that name more often than Terra Nova. But Terra Nova is the name that was given to that planet, planet Earth, but it's also because of where it's situated and within the solar system and within the galaxy. Terra Nova also represents a planet of change, a planet of like the hub, and that's why they provided that name, and that name actually carries a certain energy. And this is one of the things that Terra Nova has been playing such a powerful part in assisting us. Gaia is the name that's been given to the consciousness within the planetary Terra Nova. So when everything was retooled, that name was never ever removed. It was always used because that's what it is. It's a planet of new experiments, new experiences, and so forth. Go ahead.
This is a whole nother question.
Okay.
Okay. So Peter is asking, when our ego is out of the way, do we still experience emotions?
Yes, we do. Except it's not a polarized emotion, and it's not emotion that hijacks you. Because the ego uses emotions to control you, to shape you, to redirect you, to limit you. That's the difference. Ego-generated emotions equals equals restriction. Restriction. That's what it represents, restriction. So the ego uses emotions to accentuate a paralyzation and fear-based, polarized-based, and so forth. Emotions are our natural operating system. We do have it in us. But the emotions that's coming from any part of this is the emotions to elevate and to involve every aspect of yourself, whatever that experience is. So when you're feeling love, when you're feeling joy, when you're feeling the freedom, you're feeling it throughout your whole body. You're feeling every part of it. So it accentuates, it actually gives us another level of appreciation and understanding of a physical form, which many other species do not have that capacity to do so. There are many species that are part and parcel of our makeup that do not have that. So the emotional aspect of it is an accentuation of an experience, an accentuation. So without the ego, you will not have an emotion or emotions that are, first of all, polarized, especially in the negative side, and it is not an emotion that paralyzes and governs you. See, so it's never, when we understand emotions, we're never to be taken out of the equation. It's just the use of the polarized emotions and the control. Because if you look at it, emotions either accentuate or control you. Our natural state is to accentuate, to allow us to experience it more enriched. Where the the ego created that polarized inverted. So instead of elevate, it actually brings you and compresses you to become smaller, to bring you back into the box. That's what you see when it comes to ego-based emotions, is to put you back in the box. And of course, fear, sadness, anger, judgment, those are powerful emotions. Hatred, very powerful emotion. But all of them brings you back into the ego's world and keeps you in check in the ego's world. I'll take this out because I can't really see it. And back into the ego's world. So that's the difference with there. The other thing. No more question?
There is.
Okay. Okay.
Cosmic Energy is asking if all the extras are reptilians.
No. No, they're not. They're not. We all have reptilian influence within ourselves. What we're talking about, first of all, every single human has a DNA that is reptilian. And it's one of the primaries. And I will have an episode that will explain the different the different ones that are involved in our makeup. But we're talking about the reptilians because there's many versions of reptilians. There is a reptilians in its natural state, which actually is a very high vibration beyond fourth, fifth, and sixth state of consciousness or dimensional consciousness. But then we had the reptilian version of it that is in one way or another were hybrids. They were the modified versions of reptilians, which they ended up being called Anunnakis because they were labeled differently because they basically were those levels of hybrids and the Draconians and Dracos and whatever else. I mean, there was a lot of, there's other species too that have that what we call the Lucifer operating system that was plugged in and created that. So when it comes to the question of the extras are just that. They're extras. They have a physicality. They're operated by Gaia, or Terra Nova, or what you want to call it, as the energies. But they actually have a collective human entity that operates them and the collective soul that operates them, but they're there to play very specific roles, to hold whatever's there, to accentuate until we're done with certain aspects of whatever the experience may be that we are walking through and experiencing at this point in time. So can they end up hosting an entity, a negative polarized entity? Yes, at times, but they're coming and going. So when we're looking at a negative entity, they can reflect what we would call that Anunnaki, or what we call the Lucifer operating system. Not that the operating system was there, but a particular human entity that represents that. Sometimes a soul can step in, because there are souls that are, you know, playing that role. It has that advanced consciousness, but at the same time can play or use some of the memory of previous experiences, only to just play that particular role. So are they just reptilian? No, they're not. They're not. So we're all have that reptilian. None of us are, and when I say none of us, the majority are not, you know, operating on the two operating systems. The only part of the reflection of that Anunnaki draconian operating system, the Lucifer operating system, is the ego, which is code name Satan, is the name that they call it, but it's ego. It's ego, artificial intelligence, you know, whatever it is. So that's the only reflection we have. Our makeup does have reptilian, but it's not that version of it. Now, the hybrids that exist on the planet, which is a very small percentage, very small, less than 1%, that have taken on some of the key roles at this point in time, are actual hybrids that have that, what we call Anunnaki and draconian operating system of those hybrids. Not the originals, but those hybrids. So you have two compartments, and they operate in both. So they have, and then they're plugged in with what they call the Lucifer operating system, and that's why there's a lot of focus on some of the rituals that support that, while they have the human, more advanced version of it in them too. But that part is usually taken over by, which is always there to step back into it. Go ahead.
Another question, okay? From Peter, spiritual love and human love, is there a distinct difference?
Oh, huge. Okay, so most of the time, this human love. Now, there's two ways when we're talking about human love. If we're talking about what we've categorized as human love, it's usually ego-generated love. Human love, in most cases, what we're talking about, even when it comes to the chemistry part of it, it is polarized. Okay? And it actually can have love and hate together. So it either swings one side or another. It is very conditional. It has expectations. It has reason. For example, from that love, you say, this love, which we can call, they call it human love, but true human love is a reflection of source love expressed in human form. So it's a pure expression. So people do experience what we call source love in a human body, in a human expression. And a lot of times when we are fully in that heart, you will notice that the source expression in the human has no expectation. It has no rules. So it's not like, I love you if you meet these requirements. I'll love you if you do not deceive me or play any of these other things. So these are requirements. Oops. We're not going to be having all the space there. Requirements. Okay, so one is requirements, and the other ones is you don't cross that threshold. So, as long as you don't do this, the ego love will exist. And if you meet these requirements, the human love will exist. So it has both. So it's conditions, expectations, and it also has barriers. You don't meet these requirements, no love. If you cross the line on any of this, no love. So you can go from love to hate. And you've probably seen couples where, they were in love and then they hated each other and they were ready to kill each other, whatever it is. That is the draconian love. That is considered the ego love, which is that operating system, which a lot of times people refer to human love, but it's what we call polarized draconian ego love, really what we're talking about. Pure source love goes beyond unconditional. Okay, so let me explain. Human love in its natural state is unconditional. Unconditional. I love you no matter what. It doesn't matter if you cheat, it doesn't matter if you do this, it doesn't matter if you meet no requirements. You just have that love. So this is basically source love in a human expression. It doesn't matter if any of these are met or not. Doesn't matter. Which we call unconditional love. Then we call ultimate love. That is the highest source of source love that you experience while still in the human body. That love loves everything. It has no categories, no compartments, no separation, no anything. It supersedes unconditional love because it supersedes even the human experience. But you can experience that pure love while you're still in human form, which is called source love. Source love is creative. Source love is imaginative. Source love is all existence. It is the very fabric, the very energy of creation. It's the very energy of expression. It's very energy of not only that existence, but the opportunity in its existence, the experience within that existence. So you have ultimate love, which is source love, unconditional love that is expressed in the human source love part, and then we have the ego's version that a lot of people call human love, which is very conditional, very with lots of expectations and requirements to meet. Go ahead.
Okay, so in alignment with the love stuff, Helki, I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Rain the Woke Witch. Can the soul crave intimate romantic connection, or is that just ego wanting that?
Well, it depends. The ego itself will want intimate connections and will bend the rules, will not allow you to be your fullest expression, and will present a lack, will present an urgency to have that come into place. So that's ego love, ego intimacy requirements. And because a lot of times the ego will say, well, if you don't have the intimacy, there's something missing. If you don't have intimacy, you're not loved. If you don't have intimacy, something is, out of alignment, or the fact that the only way we can experience ourselves is to have this intimacy. That's the ego version of it. When we're talking about the soul's version is it will create an environment for two people that are of a certain frequency to come together and to express and to bring those two energies together in an intimate state and create a higher level, not only of intimacy, a higher level of love, a higher level of expression and experience. That's when two people become one in that intimacy and that connection, which expands both parts and creates a third energy that ripples throughout the whole planet and creates a huge change. So that's from a soul perspective. But it's not only soul, because the human entity loves to have pure, intimate connection, which is the highest expression of itself with another higher expression of itself, which elevates the whole collective of the human entity and negates and dissolves and starts to break down a lot of the polarized human entity memories and different states. The body loves that connection too, because in that intimate connection at that point in time, it actually evolves it. It triggers and stimulates the two bodies coming together, bringing the highest aspects of itself and the highest expression of itself to actually create a grander version of itself that filters back to each part, and then also through the collective and through Gaia the same way. So those are the experience of that. Is that clear enough? Or
Yeah.
okay.
I have another question.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Cosmic Energy is asking, are all the narcissists playing the role to strengthen the empaths?
How do you understand that yourself?
So, you know how a narcissist is. You know, it's
What is a narcissist?
all about them and, you know,
Uh-huh.
everything.
Okay.
Are they, and, you know, it's common that empaths apparently are attracted to them just to help them.
Exactly.
So are they playing a role to strengthen the empath? I would say for them to stand in their own.
Yeah. It's both. It's going for both.
Yeah.
One, the narcissist is it's experiencing its limit in playing the role of the narcissist. And then the empath is also allowing itself to see itself within there and seeing that there's an entanglement for them, for the empath to actually become themselves, allow their energies to increase. Because an empath cannot be an empath. You can sense other people's energies. You can experience whatever you experience, but you're not drawn into it. You're not pulled into it. So the reason that the two will come together at any point in time is really to give each other the exact opportunity and exact experience for them to become empowered. That doesn't mean that both will gain from it instantaneously, because one may move forward and understand it quicker and make those changes, and others may not, or the other may not, maybe later, but at the same time they're only coming together. So a lot of times the narcissist will come into somebody's life as an empath just to play a role, not so interested in making a change at that time or sometime later. They may want to just play that role for now for anybody at this point. So the empath is basically now coming to the point where it starts to come to the realization, and it does not need to engage in that or feel itself smaller or getting caught up in any of that idea of what an empath is. Because yes, like you can sense other people's energy, but if it affects you, if it limits you, it makes you feel bad, right? Then there's programs, and these programs are related to back to this. Because it creates this environment and it supports this environment. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are empath, but then what happens as an empath? Everything affects you. Every change of energy, every state of somebody else. And when we go back to the thing we were saying before, you know, we don't want to displease anybody. We don't want to disappoint anybody. We don't want to do whatever. That, you know, becomes something that affects us in a big way. So it's really about going into our highest state of ourselves, that empowered state at this point in time, and you know, and really stepping up your capacity to be that way, so that the empath basically has the capacity to feel, but is not affected by what it feels, but it gets a deeper understanding of what it sees, so how it can contribute to shift that rather than get caught up in the whirlwind or whatever that energy would be. Okay? Can I go on now? Is it related to the same thing, or
No.
could it wait? Okay, just hang on to that one. Okay. Okay, the other thing that stops us from making changes is the letting go of investments that we make. What do I mean by that? Investments that we make. Investments we make in people. Investments we make in our life stream. For example, we invested our time, energy, our love, or whatever we may have felt in someone. Could be the family dynamics, could be a partner, could be the kids, could be your work or career or something of that nature. And it's saying, well, I've put in all these years and now I'm going to abandon it. I'm going to walk away or something of that nature. I mean, that's kind of the idea of the ego, like to say. You know, that letting go of my invested time, my invested energy, and I cooperated and supported them. Now I need to get my return from that. That becomes an obstacle in a huge way from change. Because now you're saying, well, I just can't let this go because I have so much invested time in it. For example, the other example we can give is investment in your life. Look at it this way. You're here. And this is you moving forward. So what does the ego like to say? Oh, we can't let go of all of this. We put in so much time, so much effort, so much value, so much identification, so much definition, many, many labels on our past. We can't let go of our past life, our past journey, and everybody that was involved, all the experiences that were involved. Letting go of this investment. Investment in others, because look at it. How many people have been in a particular career, for example, or a certain endeavor of their work or their passions or something of that nature? I went to school to learn how to be an artist. I went to school to be a graphic artist or whatever. I went to school to be a scientist, teacher, whatever. I'm just giving you examples here. I invested in all of this stuff. How could I just let it go? That's what the ego is going to say to keep you in that box. So that becomes also another reason or excuse or hook to make changes, because then we would have to let it go. But the true aspect of yourself is that there's nothing to invest. This was moment by moment experience. Our work doesn't matter what we've done in it, our career, for example, how much time we put into it, what studying we did, what sacrifices we did, or anything of that nature. It does not matter. It was about the journey. Each part gave me different experiences, polarized or not, survival or not. The whole idea that some way we had to, how can I say? We had to put sacrifices in it. That's the word I was thinking. We had to sacrifice and all of that. It doesn't look at that. From a higher perspective, it says, okay, great little experiences and so forth. But where do I choose to be now? What state am I in? What do I want to create? What do I want to experience? The same thing with a relationship. Oh, great, we had an experience. Could have been polarized. Yes, it could have been negative. It could have been whatever. It could have been sacrifices. It could have been investments of time, effort, and not being yourself. But you're not going to look at, I need to have a return, or that I can't let this go. You won't put any focus on that. What you're going to put on focus on is what? You're going to put on focus is, great, every part of the experience. But right now, what feels most natural for me? What feels like my next step? And so forth. What am I choosing to change? What am I going to bring into alignment for the new me that I am? Because you have to understand, you now is the newest version from here to any of these stages. So this is the newest version. So as the newest version, what am I going to create? And here you're going to be a new version. What am I going to create next? And each of these versions are experientially rich. Each of these versions are expanded version of yourself, an expanded consciousness of yourself, expanded experiential aspect of yourself. What does anybody fit in? What do we hold on or not? We've all gone through it. I've done my engineering work. I've done my, parenting work, and I've done all the different aspects of relationships and whatever else and endeavor. I mean, some of my experiences have been absolutely fantastic in a way where I was using my skill sets. However, it came to the point where everybody was looking at it and saying, why are you letting go something lucrative? Why are you letting go something that actually you're very good at? because I had to let it go, because that version of me that was ready to come out and ready to take a different step meant that I needed to let go of all of that. So all the engineering stuff, all the technical stuff, all of that stuff that I was really good at what I did, and all of those connections I had and so forth, I had to let it go. Did I invest a lot of time in it? Absolutely. 2.5 decades of it. But you let it go because it doesn't match who you're here to do or be and experience and express. I'm doing what I'm doing now because I allowed myself to change, even though I was doing it then, but it was a small part of it. Now we need to do a bigger part. So this is the thing. So the whole idea of letting go of investment of not only your past, investment of people, investment of education, investment of whatever, we're moving forward. How many doctors have put in years, and educators years, and different careers years, finances and everything else at this point in time and doing something totally different? Because they get to the point of saying, well, it doesn't matter what time I put in, what I did, great ride, but it doesn't match me today. It is not who I am now. Therefore, I move forward. So the whole thing, that becomes an obstacle which we dissolve. Go ahead.
Cosmic energy is asking, is everything determined? Why is everyone trying to manifest other circumstances? Does that actually make sense?
How do you understand that?
I understand that is everything predetermined. Can we create new circumstances? Like, predetermined, it's already decided. There's a bunch of choices we can choose from. So are we creating anything new or can we even create anything new? I think that's what I'm taking from the question. Or is everything just predetermined?
Okay, so I'll answer that.
Okay.
No, before I answer that, you answer it. Is it predetermined? While I make room on my board here.
I would say no. I would say there's different possibilities laid out there for us. But it gets tricky because if time is happening simultaneously, then everything you think and feel, to me, I feel that is already in existence. So I think any possible choice is already in existence. So can you create new? I guess I'm not sure. It's a tricky question, actually.
It is a tricky question. I don't know if I can answer that one because it's too tough for me to figure that one out.
Tough?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to school and take some courses. And
we'll be
learn.
back in a couple of years.
We'll be back in a couple of years. All right. So to answer that question, I was just teasing about the other stuff. When we had rigid timelines, okay, yes, all of this is running simultaneously. When we had the multiple timelines, of course, this is only a small representation because we had many. And each of these timelines had some destined or pre-aligned scenarios, situations, and so forth that would, meeting people at a certain time, having certain situations come about, or certain things that were very fixed, okay? So what happened is that we've created multiple projections of multiple timelines, of multiple choice points, multiple frequency points, because each one of this represented a state of consciousness, each one of this represented a frequency. So if you were here on this journey and then things shifted, you can move to here. So if it moved up here, you moved up here. So now you started to create this timeline, and that timeline already had pre-plugged in certain scenarios. That was done because we were not in creator state in the same degree as before. So that's when a lot of the manifestation stuff came in, and aligning with your energies. So if we adjust our frequency, then we would go to a different timeline, which would have different circumstances and so forth. Now, this actually created restrictions. And the fact that things had to change so quickly, we would have to constantly be upgrading timelines. And not only timelines, we had to allow fluctuations, because depending on what triggered, we can be at the top timeline at the moment, and then we could shift right down here. So that served for many millennia. Okay.
Thousands of years or thousands?
Thousands.
Okay, not just thousands.
Just thousands. Okay. All right. Just want to use the correct words here. So that served for thousands of years, especially in this time. I mean, of course, it was in millions. But so what we had decided is that we needed something super, super flexible. We needed something that actually had not been experienced, something that's not predetermined, something that is not plugged in a certain circumstance. For example, when we were still using it, say that you had a bob here, and you're down here. So if your frequency went up here, you would have met up with Bob, okay? And Bob would have played a role, or Elizabeth, or whoever. I'm just saying, that's just an example. It could be an actual experience. It could be whatever at that point in time. Now, to really expedite the process and to really create a complete freedom, we eliminated all of this. We collapsed them all. But we collapsed and removed every possible experience. And so we have one timeline, our collective timeline that merges with our personal timeline that merges with our collective timeline. And in this timeline, we are no longer predetermined anything. Nothing. Zero. Nothing's predetermined. All we're doing is there's possibilities with the potentiality that I may plug something in as part of my experience. So as you move along down this path, you can plug in and unplug anything you choose. So you're basically in pure creator mode. So nothing's determined, you plug in. Now, how does that work? As pure creator mode, the reason that was done this way is because we're going into uncharted, charted, how do they call it? Territory. Uncharted territory. We're going into a place that's never been there. So we are stepping into our creator essence. We are stepping into your sourceness more and more. So that way we cannot create any fixed experiences. We're just basically going. So the manifestation thing got unplugged. Yes, we can manifest and replicate something from your past or somebody else's past or somebody's current position. But if it doesn't serve you, you're not. So the point is, as creator, you're now using the most current consciousness, the current energy and frequency of our planet, of our collective, of our solar system, of our galaxy and universe to create whatever matches and will expand us along the way. So you are live streaming, updating constantly. Look at it this way. Look at all the energies that are being transmitted, all the different codes that are coming in, all of the different spectrums of light, the support we're getting, energetic and so forth, is because we are in this creator mode, and that we are creating not only personally but collectively what we call the world creation. We did not need to replicate any part of it. We wanted to create something totally brand new to bring it in the most alignment. The other thing is, as we're bringing online our DNA, we're also getting pure input from our different receiver points. Okay? Receiver points of the DNA, which are the different species and their advancements that are streaming into us, which is actually creating something that hasn't been experienced before, because they have advanced, we're advancing, and we're now taking that as an input. So you cannot use any of the projected timelines in that aspect. Now, like you were saying, that everything, already exists all at the same time, that field is completely wide open, and those are all simulations and projections. But those simulations and projections have no fixed, what's the word? Outcome. No fixed outcome, no reality existence within itself. You were going to say something?
Yes. Would that apply to the ascension trajectory? Because they're saying, there is no way that we're not going to ascend. That is the common word on the street.
Yeah.
But you also see there is a split. So there seems like there is two timelines. One, those who are not going to ascend or want to play that in those lower realities, and those who do. Like it's there's quite a big split going on right now.
Yeah. So when we're talking about the split, it's still one timeline. And within the timeline, depending on what frequency you're tuning into, you're actually creating. So depending on your state, you're creating your reality and the collective reality. So there's still one timeline for the planet, but as you're going through there, you're experiencing the planet and everything that you're playing on based on your version. So it's like you're going to your TV set and you say, well, I'm going to change the channel and I'm going to be in a different timeline. It's still one TV set. It's still a certain frequency, but you're just tuning into a different channel of that timeline. And within it, you're still using it. So when we're talking about advancements or ascension, the name on the street, that we're going to ascend no matter what that refers to is the fact is collectively, and collectively meaning collectively of all the playmates on the planet, collectively in all the playmates within the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe, have agreed that we're not going to stay in that older restricted modality or restricted creator capacity as we did before. So are we going to ascend? We've already made that agreement that we are. What is going to be experienced along the way is still to be determined. What nudging, what intensities, what polarization is required to kind of shake us off the old trajectory. Close enough. Trajectory. Anyways, sometimes the words don't come out properly. But anyways, we're heading that direction. What it's going to look like, what it's going to unfold, and so forth. For example, right now, we're in 2020. Already finished 5 months. We're just started the 6th month. Okay? So we're just started the 6th month when we're doing this transmission. Look at all the things that occurred in 2020 so far, the first 5 months. Those levels of intensities, those levels of experiences, the polarization, split, and everything else that has occurred created the environment for us to be able, in one way or another, to create such huge opportunities of shifting. Did it need to play that way? Did we need to go through lockdown? Did we need to project some, pandemic and all of this stuff and all of the polarization, the levels of whatever it is? Was it absolutely necessary? Yes and no, because we're on this timeline. Where are we? We're on this timeline, and as we're moving along, what does it take for us to shake? So, even though this was projected 10, 20, and 30 years ago, and in some cases 1,000 or so years ago, that this joint convergence, this new stage that we're going in, would have those possibilities, but those possibilities were not a definite. Those possibilities were based on if it was necessary, if it was beneficial, if in one way or another it would be a tool that was required. Without it being required, then it wouldn't. So Did it become a requirement? Yes, it did become a requirement to kind of break us out of our patterns, break out of our whatever. And yes, it's very polarized. Yes, there's all of this being exposed. But look at all the changes that are occurring. But it's really us that are changing, us coming to the. Yes, are we experiencing even more polarity in the lower state versus the higher states? Yes, of course. But that's only because of that necessity. Go ahead.
Okay, Doris is asking, can any of the 63% wake up without a walk-in since they represent a collective soul?
Yes, well, the 63% will upgrade along the way. Now, because the collective soul will advance their role playing. Now, at some point, all 63% will not be required as extras. So active players may be required. So certain of the extras will have drop-in souls and drop-in human entities that would reflect where they're at or what the collective is at, and then become an instrument also as part of the participants and so forth. Then others that are not required, regardless what state they're in, then they will be unplugged, so they will leave. They won't be part of our extras. Again, they're only projections of our world. So in essence, it doesn't have to be reflective of death. It can show up in different facets or different ways of experiencing where they just stop existing because we're not projecting it any longer from a collective perspective and a personal, individualized expression. So, yes, they will also upgrade along the way because the collective is running it, the collective human entity and the collective soul. But then as they require to become a, how can I say, an active participant or an active role player, then a soul an individualized signature soul and an individualized signature human entity can drop in, and others that are not required will phase out along the way. Okay? All right. So, let's see how many more things I want to cover. Woo! Okay. Yeah, I'm just noticed. Well, you know, the interesting thing is I made the statement, of course. Kimberly always likes to laugh at me and kind of roll her eyes, the sort of thing. Is I said, okay, this topic, you know, what stops us from making changes, you know, doesn't have all that much in there, you know, we can get done really quickly and probably half the time or less than I normally seem to be going into. Well, of course, when I said that to Kimberly, she was, you know, her normal reaction, yeah, right, okay, type of thing. Anyways, she's right, of course. She's always right. See, I have to give it to her. All right, so much for the playfulness. But she did actually say, yeah, right. And of course, she was correct about it taking longer than I participating. I can go through the list very quickly of the things I want to cover. Okay, the next ones will be so quick and easy that I'll just blast through it because we've already talked about most of it. All right, and of course the questions always add to it. All right, one of the other things that ends up, stopping us from making changes is the ego's idea of the unknown. We need to be afraid of the unknown because, listen, in this box, we know what the outcomes are. Look, not only we know because of your own personal experience, we know from other people's experience. And when you step out of this box, you don't know what you're going to encounter. Because I don't have reference, I don't have control, I don't have this idea, projected idea of safety and all of that stuff when you step outside of this box. So it projects this whole idea of the unknown, that we need to be afraid of the unknown, and it's used so many times to stop us, to slow us down, to limit us, to stifle as much as possible, because of the unknown is dangerous. The unknown is unsafe. The unknown could be negative, could be bad, could be something that you are not going to like. Right? So it projects that. So it uses the unknown. The other one it likes to use very powerfully, you get hurt. you make a change, you can get hurt. Somebody can hurt your, how do they use it in relationships?
Hurt your feelings?
Hurt your feelings, but somebody hurt you because they stepped out of you. Or you may hurt them. Getting hurt. The fear of getting in a relationship because you're going to get hurt. That's part of change. You say, okay, I let go of one relationship, or I have no relationship at this point with others in that significant way. And you're not going to, it's going to project, oh, no, you don't want to get into a relationship. Well, look at what happened to such and such. Look at what happens every day when you see it in the media. Look at what happens to you when you had a crush on somebody when you were younger or whatever. It's going to project. You can get hurt. And we're going to have to stop you from getting hurt. No, you don't get there. You don't give yourself. You don't become yourself. You don't put yourself on your sleeves because you can get hurt. You can't be yourself because you may get hurt. You can't speak out because you can get hurt. They hurt your feelings. They hurt your emotions. They're going to hurt your psyche. They're going to hurt your future creation. They're going to hurt lots of different things. So that the ego loves to use the hurt thing. Hurt. You're going to get hurt. I don't know if I can put, Humpty Dumpty, you fall off the wall, guess what? You're going to break in millions of pieces. I don't know if I can put you back together. This is what the ego is going to say. Is that statement correct? We can't put you back together. I don't know about that crazy glue. I don't know about that cheap plaster that you got at Home Depot or somewhere else. We can't put you back together. I'm just using as humorous, but we can't put you back together, your psyche. We can't put together your emotion. You become traumatically or dramatically traumatized and so forth because, hey, it didn't work out a certain way. Well, the ego likes to say relationship or anything new, relationship and new, whatever that may be, can be painful. But the thing is, it has to meet requirements. And if it goes down these things, it's going to equal hurt and damage. That's the other one it likes. You become damaged goods. Nobody's going to want you anymore. Nobody wants to play with you anymore. Once you're hurt, you're emotionally basket case, all of that stuff. The other one that's a good one is other people's expectations. You don't want to make changes because you have to go with other people's expectations. They expect you to be a certain way. Your family's going to expect you to a certain way. Your kids are going to expect you a certain way. Your siblings are going to expect you a certain way. Your parents, your co-workers, your friendships, your boss, whoever. Your ego is going to have expectations on you. If we abide to any of that, it stops you from making changes. It limits you from making changes. It stifles you from making changes. It scares the heebie-jeebies out of you to make changes. That's the thing. It always goes back to here. The next one. It's too hard. Oh my God, change is hard. I have to change myself. I have to go through the bumps and bruises, and I have to go through the heartaches and the different changes. Well, I'm going to let go of the unknown or the known and go through the unknown, and that's going to be hard to do, and it's going to take me a long time, and I may have to go through a healing process or a healing crisis, or the fact that I have to go through this forgiveness or any of this stuff. All ego generated. It's hard. Well, yeah, we could choose not to be hard and say, okay, I'm going to stay wherever I am. But let me ask you the next question. How hard is it to stay stagnant? How uncomfortable is it to stay stagnant? How painful is it starting to get to stay stagnant or to stay in an old pattern or an old relationship or an old addiction? Throw that one in there. Addictions are good ones. I was going to cover that next. We're addicted to our old life, addicted to a certain circumstance, addicted to people, addicted to pleasing, addicted to all of this stuff. And substances, of course. Because those things bring a part of you that doesn't seem painful. So it all to do tied in with heart. Now, The other thing that impedes us is our own self-judgment. I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough, that, I screwed up, I'm a hopeless case, I can't do it, everybody else can do it, I'm not equipped to do it, I am damaged goods, self-judgment, and also judging others. But most of the time we're self-judging ourselves, really condemning ourselves. We really effed it up. We just can't go there. We can't go there anymore. We're just it's too old, I'm too old, I'm too worn out, I'm too damaged, it's too late for me. All of that. It likes to plug those reasons in. It likes to judge yourself. You really messed it up. You had the opportunities and you messed it up. You had the opportunities and now it's gone. You had the opportunities and you stuck yourself into that pigeonhole in that box for so long, it's too late, too far gone, and all of that. These are self-judgment. And you're going to judge your body, you're going to judge your history, you're going to judge your emotional states, you're going to judge others that played certain roles in your life. And these are all things that you end up using to stop you from changing. But who's you? Well, not it's really you, it's really the ego. It's that operating system that's going to do that. That's going to play the role. So the self-judgment. So that's another thing that we end up doing. How many times do we want to do something, we look at ourselves in the mirror, or we look at our life and say, oh, we can't go do that. We're not them. We're not this. We're not that, and whatever else. And we're judging ourselves. We're actually comparing ourselves not only to others, because the comparison is the other one. Judgment also equals to comparison, because it's hard to judge ourselves if we don't compare ourselves to others. It's hard to judge ourselves if we're not comparing ourselves to the world or to, some idealistic idea of how you should be or how it could be or how, you may have, not done something or gone a certain path or something of that nature. You got to look at all of those aspects of it. So the self-judgment is, you got to choose to let that part go. And the last point I want to make, well, last 2 points. The last point I wanted to make in that category before I go into the next stage of it.
You may have to do another one.
Another what? Another episode? No, because the next one that follows through this is the workshop. They're not getting away with this. They got to come to the workshop. Be live with us. Be part and parcel of that. Okay, so the next thing is a lot of times what happens is people want change. And forget about the stopping button. They want change. There's different motivators for change. One motivator is, I'm done with this. It doesn't resonate with me anymore. It doesn't feel natural for me anymore. I can sense the confinements. It's not a reflection of who I've become and what I'm becoming. It doesn't match the world that I'm creating within myself. Those are powerful motivators. Those are true motivators for change and will create a clear path for us to make those changes come into play. So when we're looking at that and saying, okay, I'm done. I'm done with the experience. I'm done with my old facet of myself. There's no judgment about it. It sees perfection in every moment up to this moment. It sees the absolute perfection in every aspect of whatever was involved, whoever was involved, and so forth. But you're willing, not only willing, you're really stepping into, okay, I'm now going into my new reality creation. I am going into that version of myself. And the thing is, the version of yourself is not like I wake up the next morning and I'm a new person. You've now made the decision. You start taking the steps along the way, and then what happens? It starts to unfold. And yes, the change is going to happen very quickly. And sometimes instantaneously, but most of the time it's step by step, because each step you take is very empowering. Each step is allowing you to complete one thing and open up something else in each stage of it. However, a lot of times the changes that ends up being an obstacle is called frustration. Frustration. If you're frustrating and you're judging your current life, your current situation, your history, your journey, your connections and your engagements, and you're totally frustrated and you're pissed off about it, it's time for change, it can be a motivator. But it can also have a back end to it. So the difference, like I said, there is the frustrated change. I want to change my relationship. I want to change my career because I hate it. Because I'm done with this. I can't stand it anymore. I don't want to be around them anymore. I don't want to be around that environment. How many times have we said that? We're living in that frustration. Powerful tool of what we call ego. Ego loves to use frustration as a motive to change because it got you. I'm not going to let you go. Because as long as you're frustrated, you're polarizing it. As long as you're frustrated, you can get frustrated easily. I use any change to get you back because you can make a change and it doesn't match the requirements, and you can experience frustration and step back, or I get you caught up in something else. Fluidity, movement, and so forth does not move through frustration. Frustration can be a stimulator, but it's about a fact of saying, you know something? How do I feel about this journey? How do I feel about my current life? How do I feel about anything? You want to get to the point of neutrality. You want to feel good about where you are right now, but now you're going to take steps that are going to align with that new version of you coming forth. That's really the case. And a lot of times people say, well, you need frustration. You need to hate whatever you're in before you make a change. Those are not as impactful, those changes. Yes, it can cause changes, but it can also create another entanglement and so forth. So you want to get into this is why I say, even in your programs, you got to first acknowledge the program exists. Second of all, you got to appreciate for what it's provided. That means every facet of your life, every playment involved, even whatever choices you made, wherever you are right now, is can be in complete appreciation, be in a complete state of love, and then you can move through it. That does not equate to frustration. Go ahead.
Okay, quick question from Janine. What does it mean when you're around someone online or in person, and even though they're a nice person, you can't tolerate their energy?
Okay, so they don't match your frequency. It's not where you're at. Now, there's two sides to that. The question you have to ask yourself, are they triggering something that you want to bring into your reality? Sometimes people come in at a certain frequency that you can create frustration because you're not there. Okay? So in that case, you may feel yourself in a sense where they're representing where you want to be, but you have so much of the stuff that's holding you back that now you're having the ego likes to use that as feeling out of balance. It's like, no, they remind me. Like sometimes people, oh, they're so cheerful and whatever else, and they irritate me because my world is, I'm not happy, I'm not excited, and so forth. And then being bubbly is just driving me nuts, So that part of it is the ego at work saying, no, we don't go there, that, so forth. You need to have uncomfortableness around that. The other part is that sometimes people are going to play a facade, but you're sensing their frequency that is in dissonance, or their frequency does not a true reflection of what you're matching at. So at that point, they may be nice people, but their frequency, their energy, or even what they reflect or represent, that's the word, represent, is not in a match with you. So sometimes you're listening to somebody and you just, I'm just not there. They may be nice, charming people and everything else. They may be whatever, but it does not match your frequency. So those are the two sides. Either you have a frustration about the fact that there's a state that you feel yourself, and that usually comes into what we call comparison, even though you're not always acknowledging it because you're not. It's basically looking at them as a neutral state and say, okay, what really irritates me about, or what makes me uncomfortable about this particular individual, or uncomfortable? Either they represent an older version of you that you're uncomfortable with, and that is okay. Well, I have I have an operating system that judges that, and you want to clear that part of it, acknowledge and appreciate their role and whatever else, and send their love, whatever it is. And then the other part, then you allow that, or the fact that they are representing something higher version of you that you have a frustration within yourself, and you say, okay, well, now I have to look at, right, okay, I'm not going to use them as a comparison, but at the same time, I want to see myself, how I feel within myself, so that I can align myself to be that. Go ahead.
What if you're picking up on something incongruent within them, like, someone who presents a certain way, but you feel underneath that energy, even though they're presenting as kind and nice or whatever it is, there's an energy maybe you can't always name that puts you on guard.
Yes.
Or alerts you in some way that, keep your distance.
Yeah, well, you have that part too. So absolutely, yes. So you can have somebody in your reality that comes along that you see a certain facade, and then there's a part of you that's incongruent. Well, what they're representing is incongruent to their energy. There are a lot of people walking around, and we've probably played those roles too, where we're kind of creating a facade version of ourselves, fully agreeing, fully engaged in whatever that collective is presenting, or that group is presenting, or those individuals that we play. But deep inside, we're still dealing with, those polarities, those lower states, or the fact that we have a different agenda that is very ego-based and so forth. A lot of times people are trying to sell you something or trying to convince you of something, but then you sense their energy is not really in alignment to your journey. And so you're picking up on those subtle hints or those energies within and saying, nah, I'm not going there. This is not what serves me in that sense. So you will feel that other part of it. So you don't want to allow your frustration part of it to come into place, because that's where the ego's got you. Last part, and then we wrap it up. Okay, we crossed the 2-hour mark. No, I didn't think that we were going to go there, but then what do I know? When it comes to what the ego's, what my higher self is going to do. My ego is saying, oh no, it's not going to take that long. And then of course the higher self is saying, well, it's going to take as long as it takes to share what we need to share, because this is a hot topic. What stops us from making changes? We're all dealing with it, absolutely. So the flip side, this is the bonus, the caveat, or whatever you want to call it, the dessert. Any other words you want to throw in? No. All right. What are you losing by not changing? What opportunities are you missing out? What advancements and movement forward you're not allowing to come through? What are you not providing those particular cluster groups, like family, children, partnerships, work environment, you're offering to the world by not changing? Sometimes, a lot of times what we're doing, we're afraid to lose people, afraid to upset people, we're afraid or to upset certain groups or work environment, whatever it is, and not be ourselves. What are you providing them by not being yourself, not bringing the highest aspect of yourself? What are they losing out? What are you losing out? You may be losing out not being fully yourself, and what that will entail. But what are they losing out? Because you're not being yourself. They're also wanting to change. They're also want to be stimulated. Not as a job or something that you go and do purposely. By being yourself, you're creating the environment to assist them to really step into that higher state. So my point is, what are you losing personally and as an instrument of change with your different levels of reality? And when I say different levels of reality, are those clusters that you're involved with. Your work, your careers, your relationships, your partnerships, your family dynamics, and the different family dynamics. All the playmates that are involved in you. By you not changing, because they're saying, you know, as much as we may be resisting change, but you becoming the change agent, by you becoming yourself, you're assisting us, even though it's not your job, even though we may not be ready, but you're already opening the door. Like I said, you open the door, you're already showing them how your reality looks outside of that, but you're doing that only by being yourself, by being the most genuine. So you need, the changes are bringing you in alignment. As you become in alignment, you're creating the environment for alignment. So what did you do? You came here to play a particular role, bring your gifts. But how do you do that? You do that by being the most current version of yourself each moment. And that requires constant change, constant movement through the different stages of yourself. So that's the flip side. What are you losing by not changing? Kimberly, what would you think people would lose out on by not changing? Lose out on opportunities of...
Whole new world.
Yeah,
Whole
exactly.
new exciting, fun, no box world.
Exactly.
Freedom. Oh, that list could go on.
Can you imagine just checking out and then just saying, oh man,
Man,
I didn't get to
damn
do
it.
what I wanted to do. I had a whole bunch of things I wanted to do. I wanted to be part of the change. I wanted to be part of it. And what did I do? I get caught up in the whole dynamics and didn't really do it. So the question is, the final question, this is all tied into this one last thing here, is how can I phrase it? Which loss do you want to have? Which of both are fictional, but which loss do you want to have? Losing the old version of you or losing the opportunity of the new world? They're both tied in. So by changing, you're introducing every facet of it.
I think too it's about just keeping your eye on what you truly want. And I think most people want a better life and freedom. So it's just making that priority in their lives. And just,
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what people want?
Yeah, I would say so. That's why they're here. To
I
have
thought
that
they came here to have the
experience
shits and giggles of this experience.
Yeah, that too. So they can get to the ultimate gift of freedom.
Yes. Freedom as an expression. We came here to play. We came here to experience life to the degree that we have the capacity to do so. The biggest fear that we have and the restriction that we seem to get caught up in is we get so afraid of, this one, afraid of, is living life. Living. Do you know that one? Ever heard of that one before? Afraid of life, afraid of ourselves, afraid of what we can create, afraid of living. Most of us restrict ourselves because we're afraid to live. We came here to live. What does that live mean? Live is create experiences, experience it, and advance within those experiences. This is why we're a creator. We are our own creation. And we're the observer of creation and experiencing, learning, and enlightening within our creation. We are that piece of source, and we are in that field of source. So, we're going to wrap her up. And the wrap-up is, we have this awesome workshop coming up on the 13th and 14th and 15th of June. Starts on the 13th, ends on the 15th. And this beautiful workshop, Deprogramming, Clearing, and Empowerment, will play with all of this as we, and many much more, as we do it together to unravel and clear out of that state of experience. The locked up, limited version of our experience. So join us at this workshop. It's live streamed internationally, and it's live streamed on Vimeo, and as a backup for some people that may have an issue with Vimeo, will be on Zoom. So it'll be live streamed, and video and audio recordings will be available. And if you can't participate live with us, then you can also get the video and audio recordings. It's in the description and on Facebook, and not on YouTube.
I'll be sending out an email as well.
Okay, and we're also sending out an email if you're on an emailing list. And if you're not on an emailing list, go to francodenicola.com and register on the newsletter. That way you will get updates and you get emails from us. We don't bombard you with emails. We don't send that many out. But each one we send out, we just notify you of things that are coming up, and also we'll notify you as new things come into play. So choose to be to sign up and be part of that. So we end at joining us at this workshop, Deprogramming, Clearing, and Empowerment, which is coming up on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of June. Until then, we'll see you on this coming Thursday for another episode, episode 25, whatever that topic's going to be. You will see it tomorrow. So, yeah, go out and play and have a blast. Until then, be the grandest aspect of yourself. Be the change maker, starting with you.